And there in the Hebrew manuscript of Luke from the Vatican, you can see it here on your screen, people. There it is. It says, Tzadikim, righteous, lifnei Yehovah. Righteous before Yehovah. And Yehovah has the full vowels, which we now know from over 1,000 Hebrew manuscripts of the Old Testament. We've seen this in the Hebrew Revelation, Sloan 273 from the British Library. And now we're seeing it in the Hebrew text of Luke from the New Testament, from the Vatican junk box. Yehovah with the full vowels. That was known to be the pronunciation of his name.
Oh,
this is incredible.
It is. It is.
Okay, it goes on.
Oh,
and it
this
says,
is beautiful.
All right. I mean, this is incredible stuff. It says, V'holchim b'chol chukei u'mishpatei Yehovah. And walking in all the statutes and judgments
of Yehovah.
Bilti orma, without craftiness, which is really interesting. What do you have there in your English? In your King James?
We're blameless. Yeah, they're blameless. Walking in all the ordinances, commandments of Yehovah, blameless.
Wow. So that's a really interesting kind of, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, because they're Cohen. From both of them from Aaron, they have so many more things that they have to perform than the average Israelite, and still they were blameless.
So here it doesn't say blameless in Hebrew; it says without craftiness. And what I understand when I read that in Hebrew is, we've got this commandments, but there's always ways to get around the commandments, and this is something the rabbis are masters of. So, for example, it talks about in the Torah, at every 7 year during the Shemitah, during the sabbatical year, that if your poor brother owes you money, that debt is forgiven. So the rabbis come along and they say, hey, that's a lot of money to pass up on. So they create something called the Pruz Bowl. Pruz Bowl is this concept in rabbinical Judaism where you write a certain type of contract, and therefore the debt carries over through the Shemitah and survives, and the man owes that money for the rest of his life until he pays it off. So I think that's what it means, without craftiness.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, you talk about legalism. There's a lot of things in Jewish tradition which are, one of the things the rabbis do, of course, is they create these fences around the Torah, what Yeshua called the heavy burdens, that they load on the people and they won't lift one finger to do them themselves. But then in other instances, they do something different. They say, hey, these commandments are too hard, the ones God actually tells us to do, because we're so busy doing our man-made takanot, our man-made laws, rules, and regulations. So they come up with these loopholes to get out of doing the actual commandments of God. And I think that's what it means when it says without craftiness.
That's interesting. Now, even if we don't get into these other things, at any time like this, just speak up, because that craftiness, the Shemitah, when they started it out, rabbis sold the whole land of Israel to an Arab for the year. So it didn't belong to a Jew. And so they could continue planting and harvesting. And then it reverted back. That craftiness is very evident.
There's a reason Jews are such good lawyers. Well, and I'm not trying to be funny.
No.
Really, they're dealing with, the Torah and trying to think, wow, God commanded us to do that. We don't want to do it. There's got to be some way we can make where we can throw away the spirit of the law, but through the letter of the law, get out of actually doing it. And I think that's what the craftiness is. I mean, Jews are trained to do this. And then you apply that to other laws and you might make a very good lawyer. Let me jump ahead here. They did not have children. Elisheva was barren, and both of them were advanced in years. And the Kohen Zechariah had the priesthood before, and it says in Hebrew, this is really interesting, it says before Yehovah. In the order of his family, according to the custom of the service of the priesthood, the lot fell upon him to present the incense, and he came into the sanctuary of Yehovah. And that's the first word on the page. We turn the page here, and we get to the top of the page, and literally the first word, it says at the end of the last page, it says the sanctuary of, and the first word there, the upper right, anybody can see it. It says Yehovah, just like it has every time in this document with the full vowels. Incredible. Let's go on. And it says, and all the throng of the people were standing outside to pray at the time of the incense. And the angel of Yehovah appeared to him standing at the right of the altar of incense. And Zechariah, when he saw him, was terrified, and fear seized hold of him. And the angel said to him, do not fear, Zechariah, for your prayer is heard. And Elisheva, your wife, will give birth to a son, and you shall call his name Yochanan. And there shall be to you joy and happiness, and many will be happy at the time of his birth. for he will be great before Yehovah, and will not drink wine or strong drink, and he will be filled from the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, from the womb of his mother, and he will return many of the children of Israel to Yehovah, their Elohim, and he will walk before him in the spirit and power of Eliyahu, to return the heart of the fathers to the sons, and he will return the heretics to the righteousness of the righteous ones. That's pretty cool. That's kind of different what you got in the Greek. And to prepare to Yehovah the people. Prepared. Now, I want to stop there for a second, and I don't think we're going to be able to read the whole thing, but I want to go back to the name. We're seeing here the name in a Hebrew gospel from the Vatican junk box with the vowels Yehovah. And there's one more thing I hope we have time to get to, but I want to talk about something about the name. One of the things you hear from scholars, there's actual solid scholarship out there from Gesenius, who we've mentioned him before. He was the great Hebrew grammarian, really of the last 200 years. And although he got a bunch of things wrong, he really was a great grammarian. One of the things he says is those vowels that people think are the name Yehovah, and in English became Jehovah, those are the wrong vowels. And one of the arguments he brings is what's called the preposition argument. It's called the inseparable prepositions, or more accurately, for those who actually know Hebrew, the inseparable particles. So the inseparable particle argument is that when the name Yehovah is preceded by certain letters that are attached to the word, I don't want to get too complicated here, that the first letter is silent, just like it's in Adonai. And I want to show you what Adonai looks like. Adonai is the way Jews traditionally read this. And here we have a manuscript. This is a manuscript from the Russian National Library, EVR B52. And I call this, Michael, the B52 bomber of Hebrew manuscripts, because this proves definitively, puts to rest the whole issue of the vowels. Now, bear with me, people, for one moment here. You see here on your screen, it says Ladonai. That is the word Adonai with what's called the inseparable preposition or inseparable particle. And the la is attached to the word, and it has the vowel you would expect for Adonai. But one of the important things here is that the first letter of Adonai is silent. Why is it silent? Because in Hebrew you have la-a-donai. So la-a, it's a contraction, just like you say in English cannot, becomes can't. It's a typical contraction. It's called the elision of the aleph in Hebrew linguistics. La-donai, silent aleph. So there's no vowel in the aleph when it has the attached preposition.